Well, this year's garden is about in. All the potatoes are in. I still have another bale of straw out in the garage if I need it, but I planted a lot of potatoes in here this year. I think probably double what I planted last year. And these boxes here are now filled up with dirt, and look at our old radish. Our horseradish is really going great guns here. This thing is really getting big. I don't know how big it's going to get this year, but she's going to get very big. And of course I built another box, and that's filled with dirt. And I built these 4 boxes, and they're filled with dirt. The way I got the dirt was I was getting ready to call up a guy I know who delivers dirt. He delivers a half load or a full load. And my neighbor down the street came up, and he wanted to talk to me about an old radio he had from 1926. He found the radio in an attic in a house he used to rent when he was in his 20s. I guess he's 20 years old, I think he said. And he just retired. So that's how long he's had that radio. He said, I never did anything with it, just sat it. It had a speaker, and it was a 1926 Colster, K-O-L-S-T-E-R, I think it is, Model 6D. And it's got all the globe tubes in it and everything. Old battery operated radio with a speaker. And it's really slick. Anyway, he brought it up, we set it down. I made a space on the bench in the shop. We talked about it. Told him everything he needed to know, and told him that once I got done with the the jukebox and the pinball machine, bring it up and I'll teach him how to fix it himself. And so he's kind of looking forward to that since he's retired. And when we got all done, he says, hey, look, I noticed you built some new boxes out there for the garden. He said, would you like some topsoil for them? I said, well, yeah. He said, I got some. I did some landscaping on my place, and he's a real craftsman, this guy. I'm telling you, he built his own house, and it is gorgeous. Anyway, he said, I'll bring it up. He said, I had a lot of topsoil left over. I said, well, how much did you want for it? I said, I just need a couple. He said, well, it ain't going to cost you nothing. He said, I need to get rid of it anyway. He said, I'll just take my old tractor and scoop it up and bring it up and put it into boxes for you. And that's exactly what he did. I didn't have to hardly do anything. He just took the old, the old front loader and just dumped it right in. Shook it a little bit, and then went to the next box, shook it a little bit, and until it was all filled up. So that saved me a few bucks. That was kind of a windfall. I had no idea that was going to happen. So I'm going to have to really help him real well when it comes time to work on his old radio. We have a 1-gallon flush, brand new actually, toilet sitting in our yard. I've got the lid to the tank over on the table in the carport. Great grandma, she put one of these shelving units up along the wall in back of her tank, with shelves, and she and wifey decided that was a great idea. So what happened was, every time I turned around, great grandma was dropping stuff off the shelf down into the commode, and sure enough, I was able to get it out every time. And I tried to get her to move the shelving in, and of course, I wasted my breath. Anyway, this time she clogged it up to the point I just can't get it unclogged. I have tried everything to get that thing unclogged. So I had to wind up going downtown and buying a brand new one so she could have a commode in her room. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think one of our grandsons says, I can do it, Papa. I can get that thing unclogged. Just give it to me. So I'll probably give it to him and let him smash it all to pieces in an effort trying to get it all undone. Either that or his wife will plant flowers in it in the front yard. Well, this is what's left of that great big giant brush pile we had. It's been smoldering now. This is like the 3rd day. I'm just going to let it keep smoldering. It'll be out here fairly soon, because I think starting tomorrow and for the next 2 or 3 days we're supposed to get 2 to 6 inches more of rain. Ugh. I just hope it doesn't wash away my garden. I just now got it all done. I haven't planted anything other than the potatoes, and of course that horseradish from last year, but I don't know, it'll definitely put this out and hopefully wash a lot of it away. I'll just burn what's left. I've got a big expense coming up here in the next 30 days. Our floor in our kitchen and through into the dining room, which would be about the back half of the house, on into the main bathroom. The floor has been doing this number, going down a little bit. I've crawled underneath there, and it's just a natural course of events. It's a very old house, so it's got that particle board floor. So I told my grandson, our 4th oldest grandson, his buddy, Anthony, the one that did our roof there, a couple of really good hard workers. They may not be experts, but they work and work until they get it right. They're coming in, and I'm going to pay them. They're going to rip up the entire floor area, with the exception of the bathroom and the exception of the kitchen. They're just going to get under there and jack it up as best they can, get it up as high as they can without messing around, breaking any brick on the outside of the home. They're going to jack it up, support it real good, and then they're going to come up and remove all of the plywood where the floor is sagging. Then they're going to take it on down to the floor joists, and then raise, scab on some boards until it gets nice and level, and then put brand new plywood, 2 layers over the top. I'm going to tell you, that is not going to be a cheap venture at all. So you'll probably see that, maybe not in this video, but in the next one I put up, next Mish-Mash. I'm also happy to report that we no longer have a continuous drip of transmission fluid underneath our nice Dodge van with only 57,000 miles on it. Our son and his wife, they've got a Honda Odyssey, and it's got like 100,000 miles on it, and it has never dripped a drop of anything. 57,000 miles on a Dodge, and it starts dripping transmission fluid. Anyway, that spot you see down here under there is what was left over from before. I scrubbed it, but it left a nice stain on the concrete. I went down to Walmart and I picked up some of that stuff called transmission stop leak. It was only $3. I figured, well, I got nothing to lose. I went ahead and bought it. One guy, it said it was guaranteed to stop the leak. Probably gum up the transmission as well, but I didn't care. I wanted the leak stopped. And I was reading somewhere where a guy said he put it in 115,000 miles ago in his transmission, and it still hasn't dripped a drop since. Well, that was good enough for me for $3 expenditure. Sure, why not? I put it in about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks later, the drip stopped. It guarantees it to stop within 300 miles of driving, or I think it's like a week around town. It took a little longer than a week. It took about 10 days, I think. So I'm a happy camper. I don't have to trade right now. And our annual shot that I always give you of our apricot tree, it's beautiful, just beautiful. The bees were all over that thing today, and it has a really beautiful aroma. Let's take a look at the redbud. And there's the old redbud looking really good, getting bigger and fuller every year. I need to cut this edge down a little bit, starting to get too close to the edge of the road. I'll lop that off after all the blooms go in. This is so pretty. We saved that from nothing. It almost died on us. I was able to trim it all up about 30 some years ago, and it's still growing. I'll show you something else I got in my yard, which I'm not happy about. Some of you may have never seen something like this. Probably up north. I've never seen any up north when I was up there. This, my friends, is a Crawdad Hole. There's a crawdad down in there. He's probably about that big. And they burrow around and make these mounds of dirt, and they screw your yard all up. And for a long time I didn't know how to get rid of them, and I figured it out. You take some ant killer and you put it in a gallon jug, granulated ant killer, put it in a gallon jug, fill the jug up with water. I mean, put quite a bit, and then fill it up with water, shake it up real good, and let it set for overnight and most of the next day, and then just come out and pour it down the hole. That kills them, wipes them out. And I've had some hills, crawdad hills, my God, a foot high. One more thing I'm going to have our 4th oldest grandson and his buddy Anthony do after they get done with the floor. I'm going to have him take down this TV antenna. This baby goes way up yonder. Been there for years. I'm going to have him take it down. I'm going to have him take it over to the garage, and we're going to put it up there. Ground it real good. That's going to be my radio antenna for leading down into the shop. You'll see that done probably before the end of the year, before the end of summer. I think it was in the last video I said that once I got done with the jukebox, you can see I have the amplifier set up here. I'm getting ready to troubleshoot it. I said once I got done with the jukebox and I got done with our pinball machine, that would be the end of the Vintage Electronics video series that I have, and I would be starting a huge project. And but then I said, but it all depends, And one of our commenters commented on that. He said, I used to have college professors that said it all depends, Well, lo and behold, I didn't know it at the time. That was just a couple days ago. all depends came into fruition 2 days later. I couldn't believe it. For 2 years and more, I've been trying to solve this all depends issue, and all of a sudden, bam, there it was. It was almost as if it was pre-planned and waiting for me. I've been wanting to, now that I have a garage built, and that was one of the main reasons I built it, not just the shop. I've been wanting to buy a classic car and work on it. I like working on cars. I've worked on cars all my life. I love working on cars, especially the older kind. The newer kind, you dime a dozen, you can throw in the trash for all I care. I like the old, classic, vintage cars. And I wanted a 1958 Edsel. And, you know, I wanted my dad to buy an Edsel. He wouldn't buy it. He bought a 58 Ford. I was so angry. He bought a custom, a 58 custom. Can you believe it? Not even a Fairlane. Anyway, I wanted an Edsel. He wouldn't buy it. And ever since then, I've always wanted a 58. I would have settled for a 59. But a 59 convertible or a 58 two-door hardtop. Everywhere I looked, rust buckets that they wanted a fortune for, or enormous prices for cars that are in reasonably good shape, you know, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I wasn't about to pay that kind of money. I wasn't going to do it. It was a matter of principle. Cars, I had a chance to pick up an Edsel one time when I was younger, and I didn't want to spend the money because I had kids to feed. I could have got one for $100 with the push button, you know, a Taillight in the center steering wheel. Nowadays, you can't even buy a hubcap for $100 for an Edsel. Anyway, they were located all over the United States, rust buckets, missing engines. I said, forget it. So the second choice was a 62 Oldsmobile Starfire. I used to own a 62 Olds 88, and I wanted a Starfire so bad. A 62. Big, giant boat of a car, gorgeous cars. But boy, I'll tell you what, they don't give those suckers away either. It was $50, $60, $80, $150,000. You gotta be kidding me. I bought my 62 Olds Dynamic 88 for $800. It was the first car the wife and I had as a married couple. Well, and they were located everywhere. Washington State, you know, Northeast, and Florida. Oh, I didn't want to travel halfway around the United States to buy a car to work on right here. I'm old now. I don't want to do a lot of traveling. I've been around the world twice, talked to everybody 3 times. I don't need to be doing any more heavy traveling, okay? So that was my second choice, out the window, way too expensive. Gorgeous cars, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're worth $50,000, $60,000, $80,000. So I came down to my third choice, which is one that I equally wanted. It wasn't something I wanted of a lesser degree. I wanted this car across the board, even with the, you know, the Edsel, the Oldsmobile. And I looked around. I found quite a few of those located fairly close to the house, but there again, I thought the prices were, you know, these classic car guys, I don't know what the problem is. They got these cars, they think they're worth all this money, and they're not worth that kind of money. There's a guy on YouTube, I think it's called Do It Yourself Auto. His name is Pete, I think. You know, he's rough around the edges, but he tells it like it is, and I like that kind of guy, you know. And he said, look, these idiots are out there asking enormous prices for cars that aren't worth 10% of what that is. And they're rust buckets, junk. He said, then you got to spend all this money to fix them up. He said, you're better off just, if you want a car really bad, just spend the money on a car that's already restored and save yourself a lot of headaches. Well, my thoughts are somewhere in the middle there, you know, between rust bucket and restored. I wanted to do some work on it myself, too, you know. I mean, that's the whole idea here. Well, for the last couple of years, I've been doing, every night almost, I'm on the internet looking for this particular kind of car that I want, that I would take, the third choice. And 2 nights ago, I was talking to the wife, looking at the computer, and all of a sudden, boom! I don't know where it came from. I don't remember clicking on the mouse or anything. It just, pow, there it was. I said, holy mackerel, that's exactly what I'm looking for. What the heck is this? Where'd this come from, you know? And I said, and I'm looking at it, and I said, where's it located? Well, lo and behold, here I am looking all over the United States for cars, classic cars, when here it was right in my own backyard. Didn't even know it. Where this horse is across the street from where we live, you've seen, if you watch my videos, you've seen the horse. There's a hill in back, way up in back there. On the other side of the hill is a road. This guy lives on that road, 6 miles from where I live, who had that car. I couldn't believe it. I said, this is too good to be true. So he was asking $4,000. And I said, man, that is under budget for me. You know, I've been saving money, you know, to buy this classic car, but I'm not going to be taking it to the cleaners. But I had the money saved, ready to go. So I sent him a message, can I come see the car? Yeah, I went down. Guy's about my age, he has a business, he's a plumber, and the car used to belong to his wife's dad. She got the car after apparently her dad died, and they've had it in the family ever since, and then one day they parked it, and it's been sitting there ever since, just sitting there. He said he had done a lot of things to the car for his wife. He had the motor rebuilt, he had the transmission rebuilt, he had a paint job put on it, but they drove it for a couple more years and then just wound up parking it, and that was the end of that. So he told me, he said that he had initially decided to sell it for $12,000. And he got no takers. Well, I can understand that. You know, years ago, $12,000 would have been a lot of money, even just a couple of years ago. He said, so he dropped down to 8. A couple people kind of came and looked at it. And he said that was the end of that, too. So he said, I really would like to recoup some of the money that I got in the motor and the transmission and stuff like that. He said, so I dropped it down to $4,000 and stuck it on the internet. And I went, sold! I couldn't believe it. So I want y'all to see what the giant project's going to be. We're going to be doing a little of that along with the pinball and this. I know it sounds like I'm busy, but I only put about an hour in the shop a day. An hour a day. Sometimes I'll skip a day. But sometimes I'll get tied up and I'll put 2 hours. But that's not much out of a 24-hour period, you know. I still have to spend time with the wife and do other things. I got a garden to plant. If the rain will quit, I want to get some radishes in. Anyway, I want you all to see our nice new, brand new, up and coming, that we are not going to wait forever to do this. We're going to start, as a matter of fact, I've already started a little bit. This is the new huge project or large project that we'll be doing. In 1966, Thunderbird. Got the overhead console on the roof on the inside, although the headliner is missing. We're going to get this in the carport. I'm going to give it a good washing. Looks really, really good. I noticed that the hubcaps on the front are different from the hubcaps on the back, so I don't know. They may be from 2 different years, but that's about it. Looks really, really nice. The only problem on the entire body is I got a busted out taillight lens right there. That's about it. And this is our good buddy Ryan. He took very good care of my car. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. You're a fine feller. We come all the way out there and drug that baby. I can't wait to get this thing cleaned up. The floorboard on the passenger side is rusted out, but I have a welder friend that's going to take care of that for me. Good stuff. Oh, I can't wait to get this thing on the road. This stuff you see here is all over the hood. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like some kind of fungus that grew on top of bird poop or something. I don't know. Anyway, I just spent 30 minutes. It's kind of hard to get off. I just spent 30 minutes just cleaning up the one half of the hood. Doesn't that look good? That looks really nice. I also shined up the bumper. This guy had this car painted. He had the engine rebuilt, transmission rebuilt, then he had the car painted and drove it for a couple of years and let it sit. I couldn't figure that out. It just sat there for the last 3 years doing nothing, rotting away. And he said he needed to get rid of it rather than let it rot away even further. Now this stuff along the side just comes right off with almost no pressure at all. So the next time you see this little baby, it'll all be nice and clean underneath, up in there. I've got a ton of look at there, mud wasps up in there. I got to get out. But anyway, it's a nice little car. It's exactly what I've been wanting for a long time. I wanted a 66 Thunderbird, but it comes with the skirts. He's got the skirts in the back seat. The interior is not so hot. Not so hot. I got a rocker panel there that needs a little bit of attention, I think. It might just be dirt, but the interior needs a lot of good. It's okay. It's not torn or ripped or messed up, but boy, it sure is dirty. A lot of mold on the console in the middle there. Steering wheel shot. I'll probably have to come up with another one of them. A little bit of rust on the steering column down there, but the dash has a split, couple of them. I think maybe I can just get by with a cover for that. I don't know. I'm not going to spend a fortune restoring this thing. This is not a Landau roof. This is flat black. That was one of the reasons I liked it. The Landau roof, boy, you get water under those and they'll just rot the entire roof out. But I would say in a week, and then down here, the same old problem with all Thunderbirds that weren't well taken care of. But I think in a week, I'll have this thing shined up looking pretty darn good. It'll eventually need another paint job. I'll go ahead and get that done, but not right away. Thought I'd let you salivate just a little bit more. Boy, I tell you what, the outside really cleaned up good. I gotta get some Brillo pads for the white walls, but the outside really did clean up well. Oh man, I gotta do something about that broken taillight though. Boy, those things are expensive. You can buy a 3-set lens for about 250 bucks with the 2 ends and the one in the middle. I'm thinking about getting my boy to do that for me. My birthday's coming up in a few months. Does that look nice? Does that look nice? I am really impressed. You know, for a car as old as it was, and just any car, just sat out in the weather in Arkansas for 3 years. I mean, the tires were sunk in all the way to the bottom of the hubcaps in the mud. That's how long it had sat there. One of them was flat. Old Ryan, the tow truck driver, he blew the tire up for me. He has a little, air thing on the truck. Took care of me. I gave him a little tip for that. But she looks really nice. I'm really happy with this baby. Well, there's the motor. It's got a Holley 4-barrel on it, and it is air conditioned. It all looks pretty darn good. Plenty dirty though. Got lots of mud wasp nests in it again. Look at that baby over there. I'll have to get all that crap out of there. I'll take the old pressure washer to this baby next. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't know why the original air cleaner for this thing is in the back seat. I don't know why they would put this on there. Probably cheaper to buy the air cleaner. I don't know. Anyway, all the parts are there. He said he had it rebuilt. It was completely rebuilt by a professional. And so was the transmission. So, I don't know. Battery's still in it. Been sitting there all those years. Let me see what we got here. Looks like we had a few rat's nests in here too. I gotta find out if this engine will even turn over. There's no water in it. Figures. Anyway, he claims it'll start. He said it needs probably the distributor has to have new points in it and maybe a new coil. Well, I'm not going to really restore it. I'm going to, kind of refurbish it a lot. A complete restoration would cost way too much money. So I just wanted you to see it. The oil is full. A little bit dirty at the bottom though, but it's full all the way up. And the power steering fluid is low, of course. I haven't checked the transmission fluid. Maybe I should do that. Well, that's a good sign. Nice and cherry red. Looks like it's a little high though. Nice and cherry red. I like that. He said he had it completely restored. I mean, completely gone through, rebuilt by a professional. Here's something I thought was pretty cool. Look at that. Clean as a whistle. That thing is spotless now. Either they put it on just before they park the car, or the engine's running so good there's not much of a blowback at all. Cool, huh? Now here's something else you see a lot in Arkansas, maybe other states as well, I don't know. But apparently the gas cap had been lost, so they stuffed paper towels down in it, wadded up paper towels and used that as a gas cap. Oh man. Also the rubber bumpers for the door are gone, so the door sinks in a little bit. Yeah, well, we'll have to fix that. This tire on the old gal was flat when I went to pick the car up, when the tow truck man showed up and he blew it up with air. And it had been flat for a long time, and it's going flat on me again. He blew it up, well enough to get it to the house here. You can see right here, look at all that rust on that rim. That's how long that thing was laying down in the mud. Chances are I'll have to buy a new rim. That really irritates me. But right now I'm having a terrible time getting these lug nuts off. I think what's going to happen is I have one of those impact wrenches that's sold by Harbor Freight. It's charging right now, and I don't think even it'll break it loose. I'll probably have to wind up heating them and using a long pipe on the end of a breaker bar with a socket. Unfortunately, I don't have a pipe, so hopefully I'm soaking it with that penetrating oil. And I do have a crossbar wrench, so I don't know. I'm going to let it soak for a couple hours while the battery charges on that impact wrench. Anyway, the tire, I was going to take it downtown and have it patched, but as you can see from sitting in the mud and or being flat all those years, it's just split and everything all through here. I don't want to drive around on anything like that later on. We're going to get a couple of new tires probably for the front, at least for the front. And these are brand new tires, unfortunately. He had just put them on. Just let him sit there and go to pieces. Oh well, it was his car. He can do what he wants. I did a little more research on these hubcaps. This is your 1966 hubcap right here with the 5 spinners, fake spinners there. This is the hubcap from the 1965 models. It's only had 3. One more thing, guys. I would like to name the car. And I'm not going to name it. I'm going to let all of our good subscribers that have been with me for years and years, I want you to name it. So, enter your, and don't come up with some dumb thing. Come up with something really cool. Enter what you think it should be called, and then we'll narrow it down. We'll go ahead and eventually take a vote on it. And after I wash the car, by the way, I see that I've got a little bit of rust spot right there. It's going to have to be taken care of. Well, I can do that actually. That looks like a bad job that was done when they did the paint job. That's what it looks like to me. Hard for me to see in this camera. I hope you're seeing that. A lot of sun today. And last but not least, I took a little trip downtown a few minutes ago. It's time to modernize this car. Look at that. Can you believe that? Jeez. Until next time, this is John.